work. All right. Okay, so we're live now, apparently, according to this.
And you are.
I am Sirius, and I'm here with Dominik, and I'm pronouncing that right this time?
Correct.
Okay, I'm here with Dominik. He's another MGTOW content producer. He's been floating around for a while. And we had a discussion not too long ago in a hangout about comic books, and I wanted to upload it, but the quality wasn't good, so we're going to try to reproduce it here. So we'll go ahead. I've been around for a while. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Dominik. I've been hanging, like you said, like I am said. I've been hanging around for a while, just floating around, seeing what you guys are up to, and I like it. So I finally found someone else who's you know, knowledgeable in comic books. So I decided to do this, like you said. So yeah.
Yes.
So we want to start with the Golden Age, basically, with Superman starting out the Golden Age. So
yeah,
get ready for that.
Okay.
So unless you know a lot about comic books, this is going to be like almost a master class, you know.
Yeah, and I have to say, you know, comic books is something that I grew up with as a kid, and I used to be a really avid collector. And nowadays, I still love them. I read them online mostly now, because I just don't have the time or money to collect anymore. But and I'm not as versed, actually, as probably some of the younger guys in kind of the direction that it's been going nowadays, except maybe from third hand.
Well, I just like to interject real quick. Yeah, well, you're not missing too much, because there's just, you know, continuity errors, and, you know, they're smashing universes together, and they're trying to restart the New 52, and that's not working out. So, you know, yeah, trust me, the Golden Age and the Silver Age, that's where it was at.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. It's, at least as far as from what I can see now, and I guess that kind of does tie in with the Golden Age, because it's becoming, I think the universes are becoming very complex, too complex.
Yeah, too convoluted. You know, like, it's too convoluted. I have no problem with complexity, but it's convoluted, and they don't even know what they're doing. You know, I'd like to mention this. Like, we're going to start out talking with Superman, but I would like to talk about, like, at the end, truly the death of Superman. Like, the death of Superman issue is where Superman, for me, truly died, where they killed off Superman in the death of Superman against Doomsday, and after that, Superman never really returned. They had 4 different versions of Superman. I forget their names, but they were all like pretending that they were the new Superman. Some of them thought that they were the new Superman. One of them was Brainiac's clone of Superman. So, you know, for me, that's where Superman really fell off and never really recovered.
Right. And actually, I remember that, because I had the death of Superman. I mean, who didn't, actually?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with the cover with him bleeding black blood.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And I think too, that was right. That kind of signaled for me as well, right around the time I started to dwindle when it came to collecting.
Yeah.
So, and
that truly is the death of Superman for me. You know.
Yeah, I agree. Now, basically, what we kind of got into a random discussion in a hangout, and where it began was I was trying to make the claim that Superman was one of the things I didn't like about the character. Now, I do like Superman, and I have collected some of his comics and story arcs. I just always found him to be kind of a very two-dimensional character. Now, that doesn't mean the character's no good, but I was trying to say, blame it on the fact that he was the first. He was the Golden Age, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, my opinion was that when Superman was created, I mean, this was at a time when the superhero, the comic book, and the superhero character was brand new. It was very fresh.
Yeah.
And so not a lot of thought or idea went into the making of the character. Do you want to add anything to that?
Well, yeah, you have to remember that Superman came out during the time of the Depression, you know, when men were standing in bread lines and nobody could get any work. But I'd also like to point out the first Superman comic was called The Reign of Superman, and Lex Luthor was actually the original Superman. You know, he originally had all the powers that Superman had, and Superman was the bad guy.
No, that's interesting, because I'm not too familiar with that. Explain that a little bit more.
It's basically what it sounds like. You can look it up online. It was Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's uh, foray into Superman. Basically, they gave it to the publishers, and they said, it was too dark. So basically, they had to turn Lex Luthor into a one-dimensional bad guy and turn Superman into a two-dimensional bad guy, or a good guy, I mean. So that's where a lot, like you said, that's where a lot of the problems lie. Is in the beginning they were creating a more fleshed out character, but the publishers wanted just no, this is the, there were gray lines in there, and the publishers were saying, no, it needs to be black and white morality. This person's good and this person's bad. They didn't want
easy to see,
exactly. They didn't want any moral ambiguity.
And
That's why I love the Silver Age.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I think that was the Silver Age was good in that sense, because for me, I always had a hard time really getting too attached to the character Superman. And it's always kind of baffled me at his popularity, because when I started getting into more of the Silver Age stuff and more fleshed out characters, I always found Superman, he kind of, as he progressed through the Golden Age and into the Silver Age, it was very hard for them to get rid of some of the old tropes that they put him on, like secret identities and weaknesses. And I always found that, for example, it was just like, okay, we have a superhero. He needs to have a human character to him. So he's now Clark Kent. It was the whole glasses off, glasses on thing.
Yeah,
and they never got rid of it.
Yeah. The reason why they I forget which issue they describe why it is that people can't tell it's Superman when he has the glasses on. I think I can explain that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
In one of the issues, some of the more hardcore fans, they'll know what I'm talking about. They'll be able to probably, in the comments below, they could probably paste which issue it was. But in one of the issues, when Superman goes back to Krypton, no, not back to Krypton, but when he was sent to Earth, inside of his ship there are these little glasses, these little lenses that he makes into glasses, and so basically when he puts them on his face, it completely distorts everything. It distorts what he looks like to the humans.
Okay.
So there actually was some sort of explanation given, and that was at the beginning of the Silver Age.
Okay. So they had, I mean, I guess that was kind of in the 60s when they started. I mean, they had bigger audience.
When they tried to start making sense of the nonsensical stuff, because none of that was in the original.
Yeah, of course. And the other thing I had a problem with the character was, rather than, and I think again this is a fault of the Golden Age, is rather than try to flesh out the character as a character with personality, they just kept piling powers onto him.
Well, also he's like your dad. He's like your dad and God. He wants truth, justice, and the American way. And a lot of that, unfortunately, has to do with the Comics Code Authority. What do you know about that?
I know a little bit about it. I've actually watched a few things on it, and I've read a bit about it. I know that when was that? Back in the 60s or 50s?
Before the during the Golden Age, just as they had, they were going the way of the Silver Age, but then boom, the Comics Code Authority came in because, during the McCarthy era, they were saying, comic books, they were saying these ridiculous things that comic books caused asthma, and they caused mental illness, and they caused, basically anything bad, like children, basically what people say today, video games cause violence, except they were saying it about comic books. So what happened was all the characters that they were starting to flesh out and make Superman more alien and less, more super, less man, more alien than human. As they were doing that, the Comics Code Authority was put on them and restrained their creativity. And the Comics Code Authority was barely lifted in the Silver Age, in the late Silver Age too, with Stan Lee publishing a. It's ironic because Stan Lee got a letter from J. Edgar Hoover saying he would like it if he could put in a story, an anti-drug story, and it was in one of the Spider-Man, I think one of the Marvel, I think it was Spider-Man, but it could have been another character, but I'm pretty sure it was Spider-Man, where this kid takes a handful of pills and he goes up to the top of the building and he's like, I can fly, and Stan Lee went to his publisher and went to publish it, and the Comics Code Authority said, sorry, we can't, you can't depict drugs. And Stan Lee was saying, but we're not telling kids to take drugs, we're saying it's bad. And they said, sorry, that's too bad. And so Martin Goodman, that's the name of Stan Lee's publisher, Martin Goodman told Stan Lee, go ahead and publish it without Comics Code Authority. And that was one of the first books to be published without that CCA logo on it. And from then on, they basically got rid of the Comics Code Authority, and that's when things started to get really, really good. That's when they refleshed out the Punisher from the '60s, and they brought in a darker Superman. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I guess what you're saying then is a lot of kind of the struggle through the golden age with creativity. It wasn't necessarily the limitations of the writer's imagination, but it was the restrictions of a lot of the red tape and politics around it.
Yes, exactly.
And I guess we can see that happening today with video games, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And another thing is I guess a lot of my criticism too, with a lot of the golden age heroes is as they developed in the early years, not only it was very hard for them to have personality. Their personality sort of came through powers and weakness. Like I said before, Superman was getting you heard of some of the ridiculous powers that he went through.
Yeah. Well, that's why I refer to him as God, because in the beginning, he was, he had limited abilities, but that's right. Since the other one wasn't uploaded, I have to mention this. A lot of people don't realize that in the original Golden Age run, there was no such thing as kryptonite. Kryptonite was only brought up in the Superman radio show. And then after that, they started writing it into the comic books because they needed Superman to have a vulnerability. And in the comic books, there wasn't anything. He was already up to that point where an entire building could fall on him, and he was stopping trains and everything. Anyone who hasn't read any of the Golden Age superheroes, they should have it here on YouTube. Check it out. It's the Max Fleischer, MAXFLEICHER cartoons. They're 20 minutes each, but the animation is really, really good, and it stands up to this day, and every once in a while I watch them. But still then, if you watch the Superman, it has that he's very two-dimensional, like you said, but it's not as bad as, as it gets later on. But he still suffers from that problem of, oh no, Lois Lane is trapped under a building, I have to save her, instead of going and stopping, the evil scientist. Right.
Yeah. And it was and I guess when we were talking before, my criticism was the two-dimensionality of the character for such a long period of time, and the difficulty for them to kind of let go of a lot of the old tropes. But at the same time, you were kind of saying, well, in a sense, it's an advantage because you can kind of make him whoever you need him to be.
Yeah. Whoever's writing it, that's who Superman is.
Yeah.
Like you and I probably have, different views on who Superman is, and if we were to write our own Superman, even if we were to say, okay, this is what happens in the story, we would end up writing completely different types of people. I would this is what you and I were talking about with Man of Steel, and let's touch on this real quick. Before we move on to the Silver Age, I was so fucking excited when in Man of Steel at the beginning they were Jor-El, Kal-El, they were calling him Kal-El. There was none of the Clark Kent nonsense. There wasn't any Lois Lane, and then all of a sudden, when he shows up to the ship in Antarctica, it's like the second that Lois Lane came out of the plane, I literally said to myself in my head, "Son of a bitch."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The second act of that film is where where it all fell apart.
Yeah.
And that's basically because I remember too, one of the things that really attracted me to the film. Now I didn't know too much about it when I first went to see it, but I thought, it's a Superman movie. I want to go watch it.
Yeah.
So basically, the beginning, the first act, when
They start off on Krypton.
yeah, I thought that was actually a good move, because what they were doing
Yeah.
was telling a story, a part of his history that was really
Yeah.
the only sort of deep part of his
His-
original
his
personality.
His true origin story, and they didn't recycle the 1970s crystals, the crystal technology and everything.
Yes.
They actually made an attempt to flesh out the world.
So I thought that was quite a good idea. And so, like you, at the beginning, I was like, "Oh, this is good." And then, as the first act of the film started to wind down,
Started to progress. Yeah, started to progress little by little.
Yeah, then they went into like how he was sort of like this lone wolf character, didn't really have a job, had to kind of run from place to place, and this was a new idea.
That. Yeah, I love that.
I did too, because to be honest, I mean, first of all, if we disregard the ridiculousness of the Clark Kent alter ego, because Superman is so damn powerful, he's got his little what is it called? Fortress of Solitude, which they made the ship in this one. And he doesn't need, he's kind of like one of those characters that he doesn't really need an alter ego, and he doesn't need to get a job and work, man.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to mention, remember you mentioned at the end of Kill Bill 2, that speech?
Yeah.
If you'd like to, just say it real quick for the people here who haven't seen Kill Bill 2, if you remember it.
No, which speech again?
At the end of Kill Bill 2, Bill gives a speech about how every superhero has a secret identity, and then he says Clark, and then he says Kal, and he calls him Kal-El. He goes, Kal-El is an alien. He's not a human. So Clark Kent is his commentary on how he thinks men are. So basically, Kal-El looks at the human men and sees us as simps. Basically, that's why his Clark Kent is such a sissy, because that's how he sees humans, and that's what they say in Kill Bill is he's a reflection of what the men are.
I don't think it was me. I don't think it was I that said it.
Okay, it was somebody else. Somebody else was in there. So somebody else was in the chat when we were talking about it. But yeah, there's this little speech at the end of Kill Bill, and it summarizes the character pretty well. He doesn't. He pretends not to be super. And that's unnecessary.
Yeah, right. And we made the comparison to kind of like, it's so hard to write a good story around a omnipotent character like that.
Without using kryptonite.
Yeah, exactly. Without using kryptonite, because without a weakness, it's very, very hard to make a real relatable character in a good story. And one of the things we compared it to when we were talking about Man of Steel is that when he was sort of doing the whole lone wolf thing, it was kind of comparable to how they took the Hulk storylines. Yeah. Just always on the run, had nowhere to go.
Which makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I thought they were going to stick with that. I thought, no more Clark Kent.
Exactly. That's why it was such of a letdown, because little by little, and then at that end shot, I was just completely like, oh, great. He works at the Daily Planet, and once again, this movie takes place in modern times. And anybody who knows anything about anything knows that print is dead. I mean, really, it's it's just absurd.
Yeah, and remember his excuse too is like, I need to find a job that puts my
nobody will look at me twice.
Yeah, if I have to travel, like that's what he said. Like if I have to go out and find something, I'm like, Jesus, there's a lot of other jobs you could join the fucking military or some shit. I mean,
Seriously, yeah. Like when they brought him into the military base, I was thinking, oh, okay, cool. He's not going to work at the Daily Planet. He's going to be like a government agent, because you know, like in Frank Miller's Dark Knight 2. That's what Superman is. You know, the Batman versus Superman fight.
Yeah.
Batman's basically beating him up because he's an agent of the state. You know, whereas Batman is saying, we fight crime to fight crime, not for the government. You know, but I was really hoping that that's where they were going to go and not have him work at the Daily Planet. So that's what made the movie all the more frustrating, is because I saw the potential. You know, I saw it so much more than in Superman Returns, which Superman Returns is just a $260 million remake of the Richard Donner films.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah. You're
with
right.
no action, with no action. Remember, like, think back on that movie. There's not, the only fist fight that occurs in that movie, it's Lex Luthor beating up Superman, and him saving the woman in the car. And the only reason why that why that sequence was a big idea for the hardcore fans, they'll know that when he picks up that car and that kid gets a picture of him, that was the cover of the original Superman.
Yeah, Action Comics.
Yeah, that's So that was okay, but the only real cool moment in that movie is when Lex Luthor's gang is robbing that museum to get the kryptonite, and those guys go on top of the roof with that 50 caliber machine gun, and Superman steps in front, and he's just taking all the bullets. And there's this one really, really sick part, which is the only really awesome part about it, where the guy points a gun right to his eye and goes, bam, fires it, and it hits his eye and just falls down.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the guy just drops his gun and looks at it, and it's like, yes, that's Superman. It's like, that right there, do that,
Yeah. That was probably the best moment. And then, of course,
Yeah.
the big plane rescue.
Yeah. But also, I didn't like the plane rescue because, the other, any incarnation of Superman wouldn't even have let it hit the ground. He would have carried it away and, set it down on the ocean or something, not in the middle of a stadium.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But, so basically, I guess what the direction that I was going when we were talking before, when we came to this, was that we had... there's sort of a reluctance to let go of some of those golden age tropes, and which is one reason why I get frustrated with the character. I don't know. I mean, I think one of the biggest criticisms too about Man of Steel, which I would say was a criticism of myself, but maybe not as big, was how violent and how much disregard he had for human life in that film.
Yeah, I understand that criticism, but at the same time, it's Superman doesn't know how strong he is. If you remember, he's only really figuring out his powers in a couple scenes. Like, remember, about an hour and 10 or 20 minutes in is the first time he ever flies. So the reason why I let that stuff slide is 3,000 people died that day, but Superman was figuring out his strength. He was he was testing his limits. So that's why I forgive him for that. And to me, it's a numbers game. Like, if he wouldn't have stopped Zod right then and there, he would have completely terraformed the earth and killed everybody. So it's the ends justify the means, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was some kind of silly moments in that, especially when at the end he kind of went crazy after only about 3 strange people were going to get lasered by Zod.
Yeah.
But besides that, I think one of the reasons I can excuse it too is because it actually does go away from the trope.
Yeah.
Of like, because the whole trope of Superman being like he's the Boy Scout, of the DC universe, basically. I suppose the equivalent in personalities, like in Marvel, would be Captain America.
Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the Captain America of the DC universe. So by him being disregardful, at least in a sense, that kind of went away from the old trope.
Yeah. And also, there are Silver Age issues. You know, people like I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, Superman would never break somebody's neck," but that's not true. In the Silver Age, he had no problem, you know, breaking someone's neck or ripping someone in two. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, because like I was saying, Superman always looked at it as the greater good. You know, I'm getting rid of this one person so that this one person doesn't, you know, create more havoc. It's like it's like with Batman. Like instead of just sending them to Arkham Asylum where you know they're gonna break out, just kill them. You know, like
Yeah.
while we're still talking about the Golden Age, I don't know if a lot of people remember, a lot of hardcore fans probably looked it up, but the original Batman carried a gun, you know, and would shoot people. You know, he was a lot more hardcore until the Comics Code Authority came in, you know, and
Mm.
Marvel and DC had to stop publishing comics, detective comics, so many things. Were derailed. So much, you know, so much progress was derailed by the Comics Code Authority.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And I think another thing too, though, is like when when you when you're limited on the creativity you can add when developing a character, one of the things you have to do is give him that, like, okay, we have to define this hero in the most simple way possible. I know he doesn't kill,
Yeah.
you know, and that's kind of lame. It's kind of a
Yeah,
lame.
it's black and white morality, and that's not the world we live in these days. You know, you can't tell who the bad guys are. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's a little bit. I don't know if you've noticed too. Another characteristic they've tried to paste onto Superman in order to try to develop that very difficult character is to kind of, again, the flip side. Now let's make him darker.
Yeah.
Let's make him almost a bad guy. And I think that's where they're going with the new movie that's coming out next year.
Oh yeah, and I like you know I like that. I like how they're dealing with the issue of you know, if a god were to, you know, if someone who had godlike powers showed up, people would start worshiping him, and basically a cult comes up around him. And in some of the comics, this actually happens. It's like the way that in Frank Miller's Batman Dark Knight, you know, there's all those people that dress up like Batman
Hmm.
and try to do his job better than he does, and it's the same thing with Superman. You know,
Yeah.
there are other people. That's why I brought up the death of Superman, because to me that truly was the death of Superman. You know, because all of the later incarnations were all about fixing what they had messed up in the death of Superman. Because afterwards, I'm trying to remember. You know, there were four different Supermans that were all trying to say that they were Superman after he died. One of them was like named one of them was named one of them was a black guy named Lex Steele or something like that.
Yeah. I
Uh,
heard.
Another one was a Brainiac's clone, but we don't know that out until later. And there's just a lot of crazy continuity errors in, you know, in them trying to fix their own problem. And the reason why they killed Superman is because not a lot of people know the story, but the reason why they killed him is because they wanted Clark Kent to marry Lois Lane, and there was a television show at the time called Lois and Clark,
Hmm.
you know, with Dean Cain,
Yep.
and in that show, they were going, you know, they hadn't married them off yet, so they told the comics writers, no, you can't have them married until we marry them on the show, and so like out of anger and out of spite, the comic book, they basically said, let's kill him. They
Mm.
said, let's just kill him, and they did, and it led to a lot of problems that are still, you know, the ramifications are still being felt in the DC universe.
Yeah, it is. And now they're starting to branch into movies, so that just makes it even more complex if they're not careful.
Yeah,
Convoluted, yeah.
convoluted. Yeah, exactly.
And
Do you know the official like the death of the Golden Age? From what I understand, is with Gwen Stacy. You know, like when Gwen Stacy dies, by Spider-Man's web, that that is considered by Marvel and DC fans as the death of the Golden Age, the moment when the Golden Age died. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
agree, and I'd agree because after that is when they start bringing in you know, more hardcore things, you know, like The Punisher, and of course we'll get to Watchmen and, you know, The Dark Knight, because that's
Yeah.
really when everything, and, you know, anything done by Alan Moore and Frank Miller. I
Hmm.
think you and I are both big Frank Miller fans, like his
Yeah.
old stuff, like we like Sin City, we like his run of Daredevil,
Yeah.
we like his Spider-Man, you know, the way
Yeah.
he intertwined the two, The Man Without Fear. I even like his book 300, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, he used to be so good, but no
Yeah.
longer
Well,
is he?
he kind of defined the Silver Age in that sense,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
his
With
writing
with
style.
the Punisher, with Daredevil and the
Daredevil. Yeah.
Punisher. Yeah,
Yeah.
because at the time Daredevil was you know, he tells the story of how he went to Stan Lee with a bunch of his drawings and with a bunch of his art, and in essence, Stan Lee said, "Well, I can't give you anything right now, but I can tell you have talent." And the way Frank Miller describes it, Stan Lee pointed to a rack of comic books and said, "Which one do you want?" And Frank Miller said, "I purposely chose the least liked superhero at the time, which was you know, Daredevil." And he made him into not only a really likable character, but a kick-ass character.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I think that one of my introductions, I think, was Frank Miller's Daredevil, and it just got me hooked, really,
Yeah,
on most on just comics in general when I was a
yeah,
kid. But I mean, before we keep diving into Silver Age, the other thing, as the Golden Age kind of wound down, um, there was a lot of the stuff they had to correct. Like, again, a lot of the tropes, especially with real difficult characters like Superman. I mean, let's kind of go back to weaknesses. Where
yeah,
we were talking about how, like you said, Kryptonite was kind of just thrown in there. They had to
yeah.
give him something. And another example of a ridiculous weakness is Green Lantern's original weakness.
Oh yeah, yeah. The color yellow. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah,
by then, and you know, and by then, it was literally just the color yellow. It wasn't even fear yet. You know, in the
yeah,
golden age, in the golden age, it wasn't science. It was magic. You know, like he got his ring through magic, basically, like from a wizard. It wasn't an alien like the
mm,
later incarnation in the Silver Age, which I like. It
hmm,
wasn't, you know, Hal Jordan. Oh damn, I'm forgetting the name of the original Green Lantern, but any hardcore comic fans, they'll, you know, just post the name in the comments below. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. I can't remember
because
either.
yeah, but yeah, I know there's Hal Jordan, but there was another guy who was Green Lantern before that. Because you know, there's so many Green Lanterns throughout so many sectors, like they're like intergalactic police.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, actually, Green Lantern, I was quite attracted to the character as a kid. I mean, I was introduced to the Hal Jordan version,
Yeah,
um,
me too.
and I was attracted to the character as a kid. But again, it's a pretty complex character when you think about it. And
Yeah,
they had, and I guess I don't. How did they develop the yellow thing? It went from just the color, which
yeah,
is
to fear. It went from the color yellow can kill him to you know, yellow represents fear, which is you know, the enemy of strength or
will.
whatever. Like will, yeah, that's right, will. I was looking for the right
Yeah,
word. Yeah, will. Yeah.
yeah. Because the
So
green represents willpower.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
yeah,
So anyway, that's just another example of how in the golden age, a lot of because of a lot of things that we've covered, when it started coming down to bureaucracy, just the newness of the art form and the media, and
yeah,
developing these characters, it really kind of limited the storytelling, and they had to do a lot of revising. And as we got into the Silver Age, now I think Spider-Man, to me, let's move to Spider-Man quickly.
yeah,
jumping
Yeah.
from Marvel.
And then we'll go to let's talk about Spider-Man, and then the Marvel universe, and then we'll end with the death of Gwen Stacy, which is the beginning of the Silver Age, the death of the Golden Age. Okay, go.
Yeah. Okay. So, with what I saw with Spider-Man, now again, Spider-Man was another thing as a kid that I was into, and I remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I was introduced to Spider-Man, when I was 5 years old, right? You know, Spider-Man dolls and shit, right? As a kid. So and I mean, I even grew up watching that old '60s cartoon.
Oh yeah. I've seen that. I've seen that. I've downloaded that, and I also have downloaded as well as read the the '90s version.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Disney version, but there's a '90s version that's pretty solid.
Cartoon?
So yeah, a cartoon.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up. Like, but that was in the '80s when I was a kid. So that was like late '70s, early '80s when I was a kid. So, but they were still playing those old '60s cartoons on TV. So I mean, I was introduced to the character long before I started reading and collecting comics.
Yeah.
And so it was a very familiar and popular character. And one of the things that people often talk about, and even though he was invented in a golden age, Spider-Man represented a sort of new beginning where, and again, we could probably go back to Shazam in this case, because it was the appeal to make superheroes younger.
Yeah, well, since you brought up Shazam, I forgot to bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
Shazam, at one point, Shazam was outselling Superman to the point where DC sued them and said said that their character was too close to Superman. And later on, the reason being is Shazam is Billy Batson, and Billy Batson is just a little boy. So basically, when he says the word Shazam, he turns into Superman, and that's a way cooler. That's way more cool than just having the alien powers of Superman.
Yes.
I like the magic aspect, because for me, it works. It just works.
Yeah, and and let's face it, it was appealing to kids.
Yeah, but I mean, even now, even now, I like the idea of just being being a kid and then just going Shazam and boom, you're
Yeah. Yeah.
And then let me just mention this part, and then they bought the character, because when we go into the Silver Age, we'll talk about this, how they turned Shazam into Marvel Man and Captain Marvel because of all the legal issues. But
Yeah.
we want to talk about Spider-Man and
That,
I forgot to mention, it's because Stan Lee didn't like the idea of sidekicks, which I don't either.
yes, because Sidekicks was the real first attempt, I think, in the Golden Age to appeal to kids by creating, childlike characters, and then of course, and then you had Shazam, which was very unique, and that sort of segued into Stan Lee's concept of Spider-Man, where you had a character, and this is why I think, in my opinion, why the character became so successful, and this is really what sort of started to turn into the Silver Age. Was not only the character a younger character, but
he had real world problems.
Yes.
He was constantly looking for needed money. He needed money for Aunt May. He was taking care of her, and that's why he would quote take pictures of Spider-Man and put them in. That's why a lot of people don't realize when Spider-Man first got his powers, like they did, like Sam Raimi put in the Spider-Man movie, is what happened in the comics. Originally, he didn't go out and fight crime. Originally, he went out to go make some money, because he didn't have any, because he was poor. So go ahead and continue. I just had to have that bit in.
Yes, and that's part of it. I mean, he had real world problems. It was more relatable as a character. I think the genius of what Stanley was doing there was he was creating a multi-dimensional character with a real persona that really hadn't been done so much before, and so it was very attractive to readers, because it was a very fleshed out character, and some of the genius points, like he pointed out, is he had to go and make money. He didn't just suddenly start fighting crime, and this is where it even got better, is the fact that his whole origin story sort of put into motion, and his just real life problems put into motion his incentive to become a hero. You know, where the death of Uncle Ben and
with great power must also come great responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so and this is what I really liked about him too, is that not only did he have human weaknesses when it came to, you know, having real life problems, but if you just look at his powers, if you take Spider-Man out of the city,
they're useless.
He's half of his powers are gone.
Yeah, he doesn't. You know, there's no. If Spider-Man was born in the Midwest, he would be very, very. Yeah, there's nothing for him to do. There's like no tall buildings, nothing for him to to grow from.
Exactly, and he can't swing. He can't stick to anything. I mean, half of his powers are gone.
But real quick, it's also Superman. You know, we have to mention that Superman and Batman lived in Metropolis and Gotham, whereas Spider-Man actually lived in New York, which does make a difference because, you know, it's a real place. So that little difference, you know, matters.
Yeah, they used real world places as well. You're right.
And real world events.
Yes, that's right. Real world places, real world events. And the other thing too with Spider-Man is that one of his main powers wasn't inborn. He had to make it. He had to make the web shooters.
Oh yeah, because he was so smart. You know, because he was a genius.
And a genius kid, basically.
Yeah, prodigy. Prodigy. He came up with web shooters. Like, for those of you who have only seen the Sam Raimi movie, he didn't have the webs weren't inside of his body or anything. They were external. Like, he made those web cartridges. There were plenty of times where he would be chasing after, he'd be chasing after Dr. Doc Ock or somebody, and he would say to himself, "Oh, I only have a couple left in my web shooter." So that's what the problem is with Superman is, you know, he doesn't have any of that stuff where, oh no, I can't do that this many times. So
or I'm gonna run out of super breath or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like the sun's gonna die out or something. And it's like, no, it's not gonna happen. But go ahead.
Well, and that again, that was kind of it. That's what I find really attractive about characters, and again, this translates into so many of the beginnings of a lot of the popular Marvel characters. Is their powers also represented a weakness? Yeah. So it was very dynamic as far as character, and it gave so much room to storytelling. Whereas a lot of I'm trying to think of a comparison. If we consider the weakness of Superman's character, I'm trying to compare what Marvel hero could you compare that to?
Like we said before, the only there really is no equivalent except for Captain America with, you know, truth, justice, and the American way.
Yeah. Because even if you talk about overpowered heroes, even the Hulk, because they were guilty with the Hulk. Just making him more and more powerful because they were running out of story ideas, I suppose. But still, his because of his alter ego of Bruce Banner, it's still not quite the same.
Yeah. There were a lot of I don't know if you've ever read it, but I read it when I was in the comic book store. I read it. There's an issue of Hulk versus Superman.
Oh yeah. How new is that? Because that's happened a few times.
That's old. It's old. It happened in the Silver Age.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I might have read that one. I'm not sure. Why? What happened?
Oh, basically, it was a slugfest. You know, they did that thing that happens in movies where, like, they knock each other out at the same time. Where it's kind of, you know, where it's like whoever you're a fan of, that's who wins. You know, it's like Freddy versus Jason. Like, if you like Jason, then you think Jason won, but if you like Freddy, you think Freddy won.
Yeah.
Like, it's left up to you.
Why don't we let's while we're where we're at now, let's move on. Can we move on to Batman first?
Yeah, let's go. I was just about to say, like, yeah, let's go on to Batman and how he carried a gun originally and was a lot more vicious. And you know,
Yeah.
his wings were based on, well, they were and still are based on a drawing by Da Vinci, which those wings actually work. You know, that was one of Da Vinci's many inventions.
Mm, mm.
Which
And
makes him once again that's the believability factor, you know, that they need, and the vulnerability factor. You know.
yes, yeah. I think, well, because it's almost like Batman is kind of like the polar opposite in a way to
Exactly.
Superman, because he's powerless.
Yeah. He's
He's
just a
absolutely
very,
powerless.
very strong-willed, determined human being.
Yeah, and with
You
a
know.
lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. Also,
No.
he's the only one to ever take. I don't know if you ever saw this one, but he takes Hal Jordan. He takes the ring off of Green Lantern.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, in a comic book.
Yeah, and it also happens in the Flashpoint
Yes,
paradox.
I was. That's what I was thinking about because I remember watching it in
Yeah,
that. He takes it off of him without him seeing it, without him
yeah,
knowing.
and Hal Jordan's like, "How did you do that?" He's like, you know, he's like, you weren't concentrating."
Yeah, you weren't paying attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and the thing is, though, is I think the one thing that I've noticed about Batman, and I've always liked that character as well, and I think he's a little bit more relatable, even though he's this playboy, rich playboy character, which is, you know, most comic book readers wouldn't relate to that.
But
But
that's his mask. That's his
yeah,
mask. You know,
yeah, exactly.
Bruce Wayne is his mask.
Yeah. And is it, and I don't know this, and maybe you do, or if none of us do, maybe somebody listening does, is has he always been portrayed as the rich person? I mean, is that from
Yes,
the very beginning? Okay.
yes. From the beginning, he was always a rich, you know, playboy. He's
Okay.
based on, you know, he's semi based on a another Golden Age character called the Shadow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see that. And but there's one thing that I've noticed that's kind of happened with him, that I think Superman was also guilty of. And I don't know if it's really comparable, but you have this sort of overpowerness of Superman, and then with Batman, because he's completely powerless, a lot of times you have this trope now where it's like, well, Batman can beat anybody as long as he's prepared.
Yeah.
You see that trope all the time, and that kind of pisses me off too.
Yeah, well, that goes to, you know, the Silver Age, Frank Miller, Batman versus Superman, where he does beat him, but he's, you know, he's in his mecha suit. But there's a line in there where Superman is taking it easy on Batman, like, well, Batman is saying, you know, I want you to remember the face of the one guy who actually beat you, and, you know, Superman's internal monologue is saying, you know, if I punch him, I'll completely kill him, and he doesn't
Mm,
want to do that. So
yeah, he's holding back. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, and with Batman, I think it was easier going through the Golden Age because they didn't have to, you know, try to. I mean, they did have to tame him down, which
Yeah,
which
they took the gun away and had him not kill people, and yeah,
yeah, they had to tame him down, which kind of led to the trope of I don't kill,
yeah,
and which is a silly trope to get stuck in,
yeah,
and especially for who the character actually is, because he's pretty dark.
and
And
especially with all the villains he goes up against who literally want to kill everybody. You know, they don't just want to rule the world; they want everybody dead.
yeah, yeah.
So
And again, actually, that's a good point. Is that we forgot to mention is part of fleshing out a good hero is the villains, right?
villains, yeah. The villain, you know, a hero is only as good as his villain, and for me, that's why I like Batman because he has the best rogues gallery.
Yeah,
And you know, for those of you who don't know the term rogues gallery, it just means, you know, his enemies, you know, his
yeah,
gallery of enemies.
yeah. And you know, who's comparable to that in Marvel is Spider-Man.
Iron Man is, you know, Stan Lee has even said Iron Man is his version of Batman.
Yeah, yeah. But I was talking about rogues galleries.
Oh yeah, rogues gallery is definitely Spider-Man has. You know, I've always liked Doc Ock, and I like Venom. You know, I like Venom, and because I like Venom because he was like a bizarro Superman to Spider-Man. You know,
Mhm,
he's what
mhm.
Spider-Man might have been, but you know,
Yeah,
what
he's
could
kind of
have
like
been.
the reverse Flash, the Flash.
Yeah, the anti-Flash or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
almost every single character has one of those, and
yeah,
I like that.
yeah, yeah. It works. It does work. And I, like I said, the comparison with I think, and that's why I think Spider-Man really took off, not just because of the character itself and how well developed it was, with weakness and real world problems, but also with his rogues gallery, very
Yeah,
colorful rogues gallery.
very.
And it's kind of disappointing that his kind of movie career went to shit because
Yeah, well, they keep using the same I'm not gonna. I'll try not to cuss, but they keep using the same
sorry.
effing villain. They keep using the same effing villains. There's plenty of villains to choose from, but in every movie, he's going up against Harry Osborn.
Yeah.
When especially nowadays they have the technology to actually bring about Mysterio.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's the one. You remember all the stuff like how he does the optical illusions and everything. That's
Yeah.
perfect for a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you
Exactly.
not? How do you not make that for the movie? I mean, his whole thing is because remember, like he works at a movie studio.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
I
like a
mean, it's
special effects.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
perfect. It's perfect for movies.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
yeah,
know, man. I guess this the executives that are paying for the movies to be made probably just take the safest route and try,
exactly.
try and go with the most popular villain they know of.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it makes it difficult. I think movies are just so damn expensive, man.
Yeah, but also, even people who don't read comic books, if you were to ask them how does Spider-Man get their powers, they could tell you.
Yeah,
You know, there's no
yeah,
reason to keep telling the origin story.
yeah,
And I feel the same way about Batman. I mean, I understood with Batman, Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, right?
hmm
Yeah, I understood why they had to do that with Batman Begins because Joel Schumacher and what's his name, Tim Burton had completely effed up the Batman universe, so it needed to be reset. But
yeah.
there's no reason to do it again.
No, no, hell no,
Yeah,
no. And that's why I really hope that the movie coming out next year is actually good
yeah,
because geez, they've really fucked up so many times.
yeah. And oh yeah, Madam Web. That's who I wanted to mention. Madam Web is the perfect villain, even more so than Mysterio, because remember, Madam Web is the one who brings Spider-Man into the Secret Wars.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a really oddball character, not too popular.
Yeah,
Um,
but it would work on film though because she's in a an alternate dimension and everything, and she pulls him in, and I think it would really really work because it's not the '80s anymore where they have to worry about oh, we can't make that look realistic nowadays. Yes, you can. So
yeah,
do
they
it.
can do anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, they can do anything.
yeah,
And so basically, moving into the Silver Age, I think it really got defined by Marvel's take on creating new characters.
yeah.
And
The death of, like I mentioned, the death of Gwen Stacy is what's considered the beginning of the or the death of the golden age, the beginning of the silver age, where things
yeah,
became more realistic, more gritty, more dark. Like the Fantastic Four were always, even though they were a little bit rich, they had real world problems, and they dealt with like the death of Kennedy, the death of Robert Kennedy. They dealt with a lot of issues that DC just never touched. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. And I guess I don't. Now you said something that the comics code. I,
Yeah, the CCA, the Comics Code Authority.
it ended up what loosening its grip or
What happened? The story I was saying about Stanley, somebody at the FBI told Stanley make an anti-drug statement, and he did.
right.
And the Comics Code Authority said, sorry, you can't depict any usage of drugs, even if you're showing that they're bad. And
hmm
so Martin Goodman, his publisher, said, forget them. Let's just publish it ourselves. And basically after that, they just stopped going to the Comics Code Authority. Everybody
Really?
did. Yeah, DC and everybody. Like if you look at your old comic books from the 70s, and I still have, like ones from the 80s and stuff, they have this CCA on it.
Yeah.
And then the newer ones, they don't have that. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So are they still in existence?
No, the Comics Code Authority is completely different. Like now the industry just regulates itself. The only
Ah,
reason why it was implemented in the first place is because it was like the Satanic Panic in the 80s. Like it was, like I was
yeah.
saying. Oh yeah, the guy's name was Dr. William Marsden. He
Mm,
went into he went into mental institutions, for young people and asked them, what do you do? And they said, I read comic books. And so basically, he jumped to the conclusion that comic books are the troubles of mental illness. And he even said that homosexuality, that it promoted homosexuality and that kids were going to be turned gay from it. So he
wow.
had a lot
Yeah.
of really ignorant viewpoints.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a little bit about it, but not too much. I've kind of heard the normal stuff, but I that shit still goes on too. Fuck.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, let's keep moving forward here. Because again, you and I if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? If you don't want
20.
to say, sorry,
No, I'm 20. I'm 24.
24. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
okay. Geez, wow, a lot younger than I am. And so I guess, well, both of us sort of, I guess our comic book fandom does span through from golden to silver, and then our interest sort of wanes off after that.
Yeah.
But through the Silver Age, again, let's go back to Daredevil and Frank Miller,
Yeah. The
and then
beginning of the Silver Age.
yeah, and then maybe see how where it all went, where it all started going downhill. But like I was saying before, it was I would have to say. Even though Spider-Man I was introduced to as a very, very young kid, I have to say that what really got me into reading and collecting comics was Frank Miller's Daredevil run. And
Yeah. The Man
I
Without Fear.
yes, and wow, did it really give a lot of personality to characters? And I guess that's really what we're talking about when we're defining the Silver Age. Now, what's the comparison? I'd like to ask you. From talking to you, it seems like you have a little bit more knowledge of DC than I do, because I was more of a Marvel fanboy, even though I did read DC.
Yeah.
I think the majority of my collection was Marvel. Can you talk about it a little bit about some of the differences that started to appear in DC as the Silver Age came in?
Basically, they took away all the magic elements. They got rid of Green Lantern, basically just being magic, and they turned it into Hal Jordan, an alien crash landing, and the ring finding the person who is worthy. Because remember, like the whole thing, they turned it into, the person had to be worthy of a ring instead of it just being magic. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why, and in the original story, and in the original canon, of the Silver Age, or in the reimagining of the canon, uh, people would call Hal Jordan a sissy because he wouldn't kill the enemy, when they weren't shooting at him. So basically, it's that quality of his willing, like he understood how powerful he was. He understood that he was holding life and death in his hands, but he chose not to be cruel and sadistic. And for that reason is why the ring went to him, because he was worthy.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I could see it in that. And I guess, when was it? What was it? What was it? The crisis on
Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Infinite Earths. Yeah, and that was the death of the Flash, wasn't it? Barry Allen.
Yeah, Barry Allen. Yeah, it's when Barry Allen dies off.
And that too, I think. Again, I'm not really familiar with it, but I did read a few parts of that story arc, so it sticks in my head. But I think they kind of redefined a lot of things with the Flash as well when they introduced Speed Force and a lot of other interesting concepts.
Yeah, and the Anti-Flash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really started to flesh out the comics universe. And as that went forward, I think to be honest with you, I started losing interest in being a regular collector probably around the end of the 90s.
Yeah, around literally, like we were saying, like around the death of Superman is when things really started going off the rails, because they were trying to like the whole thing with Crisis on Infinite Earth is they were trying to reconcile all of the continuity errors from the Golden Age, which you can't really do, you know. So it's like they shot themselves in the foot, basically.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like a reboot, start over.
Yeah.
But they're still doing that though.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't learned their lesson, really.
Interesting. Like I honestly don't. It'd be nice. It'd be interesting to get someone to if we do some more comic book talks, just to get someone involved. If anybody's in there is listening that is really familiar with a lot of the modern canon and story
Join.
arcs, yeah,
Yeah,
join.
send us a message, and we'll do another one with you.
Yeah,
Because I know
because
I know there's going to be at least one person listening who knows more about the current versions incarnations than me. So yeah, anybody out there, just go ahead and join. So
yeah, definitely. Because I'd really love to know a bit more. Because again, like I said, I sort of drifted off at that time, and it wasn't because it wasn't so much that I was disliking the stories. It's just life changes, right? And so I
yeah,
had other priorities and stuff, and I'd always try to keep my finger on the pulse of it as much as I could. But I found a lot of the story arcs sort of just really drying up.
well, they're repetitive.
Hmm. And I guess it was the beginning of this century, man, when or the early part of this century when it started making the leap to movies, and that just changed everything.
Yeah. Well, the first, just like with the Golden Age, there was the Superman movie. Then there was, before the Batman movie, Marvel put out a Punisher in the 80s
Hmm.
with,
Dolph Lundgren.
shit. Yeah, Dolph Lundgren. I was about to say, I forgot. Yeah, Dolph Lundgren. And yeah, what's ironic is Marvel had a really, really hard time getting any of their products off the ground. The reason I say it's ironic is because nowadays it's the opposite. DC's having troubles bringing their characters to the screen,
Mm,
whereas Marvel is doing well, So, things have changed.
yeah, Marvel can sell anything now.
Yeah.
It's
Well, also
incredible.
the problem with Spider-Man is that Sony owns it, and Disney doesn't own it. That's part of the problem. And Sony just wants to make money off of the established character because they know it has a hardcore established fan base that will go and see it no matter how terrible it is.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm excited that that they have the rights to the Punisher back.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm excited for that. Like on Netflix, there, like Luke Cage is coming. Hopefully, Elektra.
Iron
Uh,
Fist.
yeah, Iron Fist. There's so many characters that are that are supposed to be coming that I'm just very, very excited to see. Like Marvel Man. Like they've been talking about doing Marvel Man for a while, but finally it seems like the legal issues are over. So hopefully we can see a good Marvel Man because he's a better version of Superman. Because like a lot of you, for those of you who don't know, Marvel Man is a redo of Shazam. Like he was called they reprinted Shazam in London and called it Captain Marvel,
Hmm.
and still they got sued. So then they changed it to Marvel Man, and that was written by Alan Moore. And Alan Moore is one of the foremost comic book writer geniuses. I don't like using the term genius because it's overused, but he really is brilliant. He did Swamp Thing,
Yeah.
which Swamp Thing is one of my favorite books because it brings in all of the books. Like all the books are my favorite, but he brings in he brings in like serial killers, mass murderers, and ghosts and goblins and zombies and other worlds, and talking about Hades and traveling to Hades to get his girlfriend back, and Green Lantern. not the Green Lantern, but one of the Green Lanterns appears in Swamp Thing, as well as a few other characters in the DC universe. Like what was his name? Adam something. He was like a very futuristic looking person.
Adam Strange?
Yes,
No.
Adam Strange. No, no, not Adam Strange. Let me.
Captain Adam.
Yeah, no, 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 not Captain Adam. Yeah, if you could just keep talking about what you know about Swamp Thing. I'm getting my Swamp Thing book right now to see what his name was.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, but he's one of the Daredevil. He's one of the DC comic characters. So yeah, it's just
okay. I can't remember. I can't quite remember. A lot of my introduction to Swamp Thing was '80s Swamp Thing.
yeah, that's Alan Moore. That's it. Those are his versions. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't have a lot of issues, but I was very attracted to the character for those very same reasons. Very dynamic character. And that's basically what I'm talking about. Is there was a real as it progressed into the Silver Age, there was a real shift from two-dimensional to very multi-dimensional characters.
Yeah,
And
literally, and sometimes literally multi-dimensional, where they could travel through, different dimensions of established canon.
Yeah, multiverse, the multiverses.
Yeah, like Earth 1 and Earth 2, and
Yeah.
that's why they had Crisis on Infinite Earths, because there were so many different worlds that they had to collapse them all into one, which didn't really help. It only complicated matters.
Yeah, that's what it did in the end. And if another thing I'd like to touch on after you find your Swamp Thing is maybe we can just kind of briefly talk about some of our favorite Superman arcs.
Oh, they have the Spectre in here also. They have Constantine, the Spectre, and what's his name? They bring back in Alan Moore brings back in that guy in the red suit. He's all white, and he has like a D on his chest. I forget what they call him.
Oh, Dead Man.
Yeah, Dead Man. Yeah, Dead Man. So, Alan Moore revived a lot of those characters.
A lot of sort of the
Yeah,
second string characters.
Yeah, and also he created his own character, Constantine, which I like that. I like Constantine too. I even think they did a decent movie. They even did a decent adaptation with Keanu Reeves. It was good, but it stayed pretty much true to the character. I don't know if you saw that 2005 version or not.
Which Constantine?
Yeah, Constantine.
And wasn't that Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, that was Keanu Reeves.
I did see it. I wasn't totally impressed by it, but I did watch it.
Yeah, it was decent though. It was decent.
Yeah.
It wasn't that great, but it still told the basic outline of who he is.
Yeah.
About.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Adam Strange, right? Because Adam Strange is one of the DC characters.
Yep.
Yeah, he wears like this red and white outfit. This really silly looking outfit.
Yeah, that's Adam Strange, man. That's Adam Strange.
That's Adam Strange. Yeah. Oh, have you let's I would just like to stay on Alan Moore for a while, and then maybe we can jump to Frank Miller.
Okay.
Alan Moore. Have you read Watchmen or even seen it?
Yeah, I've seen the movie and I've read it. I've got the digital version of it.
Yeah. I like the story within the story. The tale of the Black Raider.
Hmm. Yeah, Actually, God, they did a good job in the movie with that, man.
Yeah, the comic within the comic.
Yes.
I like that. How it answers the comic within the comic answers questions, about the comic in it, but just not direct, not in a direct way. So a lot of people probably didn't realize it because they didn't. I guess people weren't expecting for a movie like that to be so deep.
Yeah.
I think they were just expecting a one-dimensional version of him.
Yeah. And I think that movie was probably like DC's best.
Yeah, definitely.
So what did you want to mention about more?
Oh, also, V for Vendetta. You know,
Mm.
I really love V for Vendetta. It's really, really good. Um, you know, it's a lot more hardcore than they show in the movie, but I guess they had to tone it down because it was PG-13, which it should never have been. Because if you've read V for Vendetta, it's very much R-rated.
I haven't actually read the comic.
Yeah, but it's basically an R-rated movie. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
those were, and it was Moore's run of Swamp Thing that you're talking about, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah, that kind of all ties in together. And another thing I wanted to just touch on, because we started with Superman, is I remember when we were talking before, you mentioned a really good story arc of Superman. What was that again?
Oh, Alan Moore's What Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah, can you explain that a little bit, because I'm not too familiar with that story arc.
Basically, he does what you and I are talking about. He doesn't really address the whole Clark Kent thing. He addresses, you know, how would an alien act on our world? How, you know, what kind of things would go on? What problems would he have? How, you know, he would feel disconnected from humanity and still wanting to help, and he can't really understand, like I was saying, you know, Clark Kent is is how Kal-El sees humanity, and he doesn't understand, like, humanity wants to be all these things. They want to, you know, humanity's like, oh, we're this, we're that. But in that book, he really struggles with the moral quandary of why am I helping these people out when they're seemingly so savage?
Yeah,
You know? It's hard to sum up Moore's writing because he's such a good writer.
yeah.
It's like Batman: The Killing Joke, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where he paralyzes Barbara Gordon right in front of Commissioner Gordon, and ties him up, ties him up and brings him to that to his crazy amusement park. And there's one line in there that I love where he goes, "Everybody is just one bad day away from being me." And they kind of, and you know, and Christopher Nolan kind of used that in The Dark Knight. You know, he
Yeah,
used that line.
yeah. Yeah, it's stories like that though that really help, and good writers that really help bring dimension to some of these characters that just didn't really have it, or are very difficult to write for.
Yeah,
And I think that was kind of a sign of things changing, because one of the I mentioned to you, one of the story arcs that I really appreciated about Superman was Exile, and it was, I think it's like 12 issues long, I think 12,
yeah,
and
yeah, 12 or 13.
12 or 13 issues long. It was very long, and the reason I liked it is because, and if anybody's listening, you haven't read this arc, I recommend trying to find it, called Exile. And I think it was Byrne. I'm not 100% sure now. But he basically he forces himself into exile and leaves the Earth. Yeah, he goes through a bunch of guilt. He killed these Kryptonians. It's a pretty complex lead up to the reason. But he decides to leave Earth, so he exiles himself. And you know what, one of the things that really, when you read it, that really turned me on in the first place, because remember how I was telling you, we're always saying, Superman's so strong, he's hard
Yeah,
to write for. One of the first things he has to do when he leaves is he has to bring a breathing apparatus, because he can't breathe in space.
yeah, in that version.
Is there other versions where he can?
Yeah, yeah. There are different versions where he can just travel without a spacesuit,
Oh,
but there are versions where he does have to travel, like you said, with the spacesuit.
yeah, he doesn't. It's not like he doesn't, like, the outer space won't kill him physically that way, but he has to have air to breathe.
Yeah,
So if he's in space without, well, I mean, at least this version, if he's in space without a way to breathe, he'll die. So
yeah,
space is in that incarnation, is a great place to make a good Superman story. He's got a weakness.
yeah. Instead of it being freaking kryptonite.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, and also, we didn't touch on the other weakness he has, which is magic.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why I love Superman versus Captain Marvel or Shazam or whatever they want to call him, because he uses magic, and
Hmm.
his weakness. That's his only weakness besides kryptonite.
Did you see that?
Or on an emotional level, he's vulnerable to Lois Lane.
Yeah, yeah. I think they should just kill her off.
Yeah. Well, they had Lana Lane before they had Lois Lane. So,
yeah, that's true.
Lana Lane was his original, like how Spider-Man has Gwen Stacy, then Mary Jane. Like Lana Lane came along first, then Lois Lane came along.
Did they kill off Lana Lane?
I don't think they. Yeah, I think they killed her off too in some of the versions, but in some of the other versions, they just like never mentioned her again.
Oh yeah.
Like even in the Christopher Reeves movie, like I don't know if you remember this, but when Superman's running past the train, do you remember that part? When he's running his, the little girl who says, "Mommy, look."
Mm-hmm.
That's Lana Lang. Like,
oh,
that's
okay.
the joke. Yeah, like that was supposed to be like an inside joke. Like that was Lana Lang.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I remember. I remember the scene. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Have you seen the short cartoon Superman and Shazam versus Black Adam?
Yes, I have. I love that. Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
It
See,
is
that's
so good.
That's the Superman I want.
Yeah.
That's the.
It's so great, man. I love because man, Black Adam could kick his ass.
Yeah. Well, because I love it, because like I love his rationale of if I was created by a god, then I too am ipso facto I'm a god. So. I like that whole element, which seemingly they're gonna hopefully put into Superman or Batman versus Superman with the whole. If you watch the trailer, I've only watched it once and I refuse to watch it again because I don't want to overhype myself on it. But I like how on the statue they have spray painted false god.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Sit down.
Hmm.
Oh, I just tell my dog to sit down.
Is he listening?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I really liked that aspect too. I mean, it's funny though. You don't really hear too many people bring that weakness up with Superman though, and it's a pretty big one.
Because they don't know. A lot of people don't know that magic is. A lot of people think that kryptonite is the only thing that can hurt him.
And do you remember the old TV series Smallville?
Yeah, I didn't watch it all the way through, but I watched little bits here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. It came out at a time before I could just download the whole season on the internet.
Yeah, that was back. That was back before. Yeah, before you could really do that.
Yeah, so I just kind of caught it when I caught it. But they did do one episode where they exploited that weakness. They actually talked about it.
Who was using? Who was it?
If I remember correctly, the story arced over a couple episodes, if I'm not mistaken, and it was really bizarre. It was for some reason because in that movie they had Lois Lane as they were all young, right?
Yeah.
And it ended up Lois Lane ended up getting magical powers somehow.
I think I heard about that on a review of Lois and Clark. I think, or on Smallville.
Yeah.
Smallville, yeah.
Yeah, and then they ended up hurting him somehow. I did watch the episode, but it was a while ago, and I don't remember the exact story. It wasn't the greatest series.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but it has its moments. That's what
Yeah, it has its moments. And then that's why I like that whole Superman versus Black Adam and Shazam, because and I think that Black Adam is an awesome character, man.
Yeah.
Awesome character.
Definitely.
Hopefully, huh?
I was just gonna say because he seems like, if Superman, if Kal-El was never raised by the Kents, Black Adam is how he would be.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, he's a better, almost opposite Superman than Bizarro.
Yeah. That's why, yeah, that's why I brought it up, because he's more of a, like you said, he's a better Bizarro Superman than Bizarro Superman.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I heard rumors are going to make a Shazam movie, right?
Yeah, they're gonna do a Captain Marvel or Marvel Man movie. But basically Marvel Man and Captain Marvel and Shazam are the same
They're
character.
the same character.
Yeah, it's just they go by different names because of legal issues.
Yeah, I heard it was because Marvel bought the rights to the name.
Yeah, but it's also this goes into Todd McFarlane. It's like in the latter stages of the Silver Age, Todd McFarlane and a lot of the other characters who had helped to flesh out the bare bones structure from the Golden Age into the Silver Age, they got effed over by the publishers. The publishers didn't give them rights to their own characters, so basically they went off and they founded Image Comics.
Yes, that's right.
And Image Comics is where their version of, like, Todd McFarlane's version of Superman was excuse me, I burped. Is Spawn. Like every
Yeah.
time Spawn uses his power, like it takes I forget, like doesn't it take like his life away or something, or something like that. Like basically every time he uses his power, there's a repercussion from it.
Mm.
He doesn't just get to use his power whenever he wants, and that's what I like, because like we were saying, like Superman, he doesn't have any built-in vulnerabilities, unlike unlike Spawn.
Yeah, yeah. And Spawn, like I think I don't know. I'm not too versed in Spawn mythology, but I did own like the first 10 issues because I was a big, I was collecting Spider-Man when McFarlane started his run.
Did you ever see the HBO cartoon Spawn, or the movie?
Oh yeah, I did see the cartoon, man, a long time ago.
The cartoon is faithful. It's very, very
It's
faithful to
good,
the
yeah,
it's faithful to the run.
yeah.
Yeah.
The cartoon was good. I didn't really like the movie that much. It was all right.
Yeah. The cartoon's far superior to the movie.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
movie was just like basic broad strokes.
Oh, and actually another point that kind of, maybe this is another reason, another flagship in when the Silver Age started coming to an end, was when McFarlane came in, and you kind of briefly mentioned that. But do you remember when he suddenly was, I think he was doing Amazing Spider-Man first. That's where he started, and I believe
He's the one who came up with those what he calls spaghetti webs.
Yes, yeah.
He's the one who created that.
Yeah,
that look, and he didn't get recognition for that.
Yeah, and I remember he started in Amazing Spider-Man. It was in around 300 something. He came into Amazing Spider-Man, and it was interesting because he started doing. It was almost like every issue he would just bring in an old villain.
Yeah.
And it'd be like one story, one issue, 2 issue arc with one of the old villains, bring him back, kind of recreate them in his own style. And he got really, really popular. And then he started his own title, which was just Spider-Man. Because remember, at that time there was, I think they had
there was the Amazing Spider-Man. There was
Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man. There was 3.
Versions
the web of Spider-Man.
Yeah, also the web. That's right. That's
Web of Spider-Man.
One more.
Yeah. Those were the 3 issues, and so they brought in a new one for him called just Spider-Man.
Yeah,
and
Spider with the dash man.
Yeah, that was it. Just and what I thought was interesting was and I think this kind of also, in my opinion, was a signal of where comics were going. Do you remember Spider-Man issue #1? He made like 12 different. There was like 12 different cover variations or something.
Yeah, the collectors, because of the whole what do they call it? The speculator boom. The speculator bubble.
The what bubble?
The speculator bubble.
What's that?
Basically, when people started to when people started wait real quick. Can you add anybody to this chat?
Yeah, but I have to send him the link. You can yeah, I gotta send him the
Okay,
link, but who is it?
could you send Belladonna a link to this?
Belladonna.
Yeah, Belladonna X.
Okay, hold on. I don't know if I can find him in my Google. You might have to do it
Okay,
yourself.
she's on my list. If you type in, yeah, like I'm gonna put her name up in the chat.
Okay.
And yeah.
All right. Okay. Let me. I'll try and type her name in and see if I can find it. But
Yeah, that there it is right there. That's her. Yeah, that's her name.
okay.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Where did you put her name? Oh, right there. Okay, I got
Yeah,
it.
in the chat.
I got it. Copy. Belladonna X. I think that's the right one.
Yes.
It's the only one I see. It's got like
Yeah,
a kind of a.
she's the only one. Yeah. Belladonna.
Okay, I'll add her to my circles and then I will send a link. Hold on a second. I know, again, I'm not, I'm still learning how to do these stupid live chats. So hopefully this link will work for her. If she clicks on that.
Yeah, if you have her added, she should be able to join. So.
Can I add her to this chat? Belladonna X. Okay, I'm adding her to this chat here.
Yeah.
And I've sent her a link in another chat window I opened. So hopefully that works. I can't even, I don't know if, like, because we're doing it live, right? And like I said, I'm pretty new at doing these broadcasts, so I can't tell. I don't know how to, if people can actually ask questions in the group chat, and if they can, I don't even know where to look.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to look either. I know there's a way, but yeah, like you said, I'm new to doing it this way. So.
Oh wait, here we go. There's all the. I just found. Hey guys, if you're listening, I just saw all your
Oh, what people
chats
are
on the side. Yeah.
Okay, where is it?
Yeah, it's I don't know if you can actually see it because I'm the one that started the
Okay.
the hangout, because I have to go to my analytics of the live stream.
Oh,
And there it is.
People are posting. People are
Yes,
saying stuff?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. There mails from Bruce.
Anything constructive, you know?
I'm looking through it right now. Just sort of like, yeah, guys, sorry, I'm still learning how to do this, so I didn't see all your comments until right now. Let me go to the very end first.
Yeah. Does anybody want to join?
Anybody want to join this conversation? Just type your name in and I'll see if I can do it. Just say it in the chats because I can see it now.
Yeah, look for the link. The link is up in the chat, so see if you can find it. Or add one of us, and then you'll be able to join.
Yeah, add one of us, or just say I'm not a good friend. Hangout stuff, so no offense taken. Okay. No, I just tuned in a long time, very long time. Yeah, and another thing, guys, is I'm really happy to be talking to Dominik about this stuff because I know I put MGTOW Comics in the title, but I don't know if we're really going to touch on MGTOW that much. It'll probably come up at some point or another, and if we continue to do these kind of talks. But it's just nice to get away from the regular MGTOW banter and talk about some of our other interests. So
yeah.
He says there's at least a minute of lag. I guess that's for the comments.
Okay.
Yeah. Exile from the 80s. Yes. No. It was Exile from the 80s. Yes, it was John Byrne. So yeah. And no also says Superman's other weakness is Wonder Woman's poontang.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, yeah. Well, that's what he that's what he goes crazy over in Frank Miller's Dark Knight. Remember, Wonder Woman was carrying his child, and his child died, and that's what set him off and turned him so crazy.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, like in the issue, Frank Miller has Superman get Wonder Woman pregnant. That's why he turns into such an asshole.
Okay. All right. I got no. Said he wants to join. Oh, geez, I don't see your. I can't bring your name up in the search. I wonder if it's because I haven't added you. Hold on. This is all so bloody confusing, man. On Google Plus. Yeah, there's still a lot of. Yeah, I'm following him. Why can't I add him? Maybe no. Maybe you have to add me if you added me, because I for some reason I can't bring you up in the damn chat here.
How long has this chat been going? Because
Hour and a half. Hour and a half.
Well, yeah. Well, the reason why I mentioned that is because the people listening, maybe if you want to start one up for another, like in 10 minutes or 30 minutes, so they can join. Like, just ask them if that,
Okay.
people in the chat, like, you want to start it up again. Whoever wants to join can join and all that. So.
Okay. Hold on a second. Well, what we could do is we could basically kind of wrap this up. We've been doing an hour and a half, and then we can.
Yeah, we didn't really get to the Silver Age show. Let's consider this like the Golden Age.
Okay. Yeah.
Conversation.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. We'll kind of bring this to a close, and then if you guys want to chat, maybe we can. Maybe what we could do is we could just start an offline chat to begin with, and kind of organize some stuff. If you guys are into that. Because we've already done an hour and a half of this. This is gonna be posted up for other people to hear that didn't get a chance this time. And definitely if we got 18 people watching, that's not bad for not advertising. So if there's interest, we could always do some more of this stuff. It's always stuff to talk about with comics,
Yeah, and anyone listening, please subscribe to my channel. I'm gonna be doing reviews of all kinds on there, and like I said on my channel, I'll take requests. So if you have a movie that you like, just put it in the comment section, and
cool.
I'll review it.
Cool, man. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, it's nice. I've kind of trying to get away from just straight up MGTOW stuff, but talking with other talking with other MGTOW guys about other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, other issues. Yeah, I did one about music with Zeta X, which was nice. Just a little bit of a, get off the main road for a while. So
it's refreshing,
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we're gonna wrap this up and invite the people who are listening, the 8 people watching live. If you have Google Hangouts, come and meet us. Just type in our name. Both of our names on Google Plus are spelled the same. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So okay, let's wrap this up. It was good talking to Dominik. Anybody that's still online once we close this down. I'm sorry I didn't get to your comments until later. I'm still learning this crap, but we'll definitely do this again. And if you're online, we'll try to start up an offline chat. We can all get together and discuss some stuff and go from there.
Yep. All right. All right. I am Dominik Doman, and you are.
I am Sirius.
See you later.
All right. See you guys later. Bye.